very good evening, everyone. This is the second season of the Circular Chat, where the International Council for Circular Economy is back with a brand new futuristic approach. This season comprises of 6 episodes in which we have been exploring one of the most challenging worldwide subjects, plastic waste. This is the sixth episode of the series with the Shakti Plastic Industries, wherein we discuss the future of plastic waste management through industry experts. The Circular Chat is an initiative by ICCE to develop and promote the idea of a circular economy. The chats engage key actors to mobilize system solutions at scale. My name is Kavya, and I am a part of the team here as a council, and I'm glad to be here as the host of this episode. We are here with Mr. Evaristo Jude D'Souza, who is the senior lead EPR and business development team at the Shakti Plastic Industries, to talk about extended producer responsibility. Having been active for 6 years in the sustainability and waste management industry, D'Souza has been assisting companies and clients alike in meeting their sustainability goals and initiatives, thereby bringing about steady sustainable development. A strong passion for marine mammals, animals, and biodiversity has driven him to earn a master's in ecology and environmental science and master's in oceanography. He is an environmentalist at heart who is also an avid gardener, composter, and music enthusiast. Thank you for joining us today, Jude.
Thank you so much, Kavya. Let me just take this time to thank you and the ICCE team. Shalini ma'am has really gone out of her way to make us welcome and take the circular chat series to a next level. Suzanne also has been so helpful and so amazing with coordinating with me, and Kavya, you also have been so good, and our speakers have really enjoyed talking to you. You've been a wonderful host and so patient and understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Jude. It's really a pleasure to have you with us. And before we start, I would like to inform the audience that we'd love to have your comments and questions pertaining to our discussion today in the chat box. So feel free to drop them there. So, Jude, today for the first time, more than 100 businesses in the packaging value chain and other organizations have publicly recognized that without extended producer responsibility, which we call EPR, collection and recycling is unlikely to be meaningfully scaled, and tens of millions of tons of material will continue to end up in the environment every year. So, what is the role of EPR in managing waste, and why is it so important?
Right. So I think that's a wonderful question, but it's very important for me to start with giving some context. EPR is a policy that was introduced in 2016 through the plastic waste management rules in 2016. And it is just as the name says, extended producer responsibility, where the producers are taking responsibility of their end of life stage of their products, product packaging. What that means is there are many ways in which they do it. They have three models where they go into ways where they can collect, segregate, dispose of sustainably as per the regulatory bodies. So plastics has been a tremendous boon for humanity, and the mismanagement of it has led to a lot of problems like pollution, plastic pollution, ocean plastics, etc., etc. I'll just give you some rough stats so you can get an idea of the magnitude of what's happening. So India produces around 25,000 tons of plastic daily, of which only 60% is recycled or sustainably disposed, while the remaining 40 does not get collected or it is littered in the environment. So that's a tremendous amount just for India. Now, globally speaking, the volumes are crazier. The plastic production was 260 million metric tons per year in 2016 and is estimated to go to 460 billion metric tons per year by 2030. So that's an approximate increase of 80%. That's tremendous. That's more than double. It's like we really need to pull up our socks, and EPR is the way to go. It's a fantastic policy put in place by the Indian government, and regulatory bodies to assess and sort of streamline things in such a way that we have less plastic pollution, we have less landfills, and there's a new system, business models that are introduced to tackle the plastic waste in the environment. So EPR is basically, as I said, extended producer responsibility. In that, you have your collection, your disposal, your segregation, all sorts of avenues. Now, collection EPR is EPR has collection, segregation, and disposal, right? It all comes at a cost. Okay, who takes that cost? And it has a support system required for that. Okay, now with EPR, you're getting a support system with that. You're getting your financially backed. It's there is some incentive to doing it, to removing, to being responsible for your final end of life stage of your product. And it is also, in a way, you're making people comply, giving them the chance to comply, and making them aware, making the consumers aware. There are millions of tons of plastic, as you just rightly said, not disposed of properly and not collected. That's where EPR comes in. EPR is giving hope that it will be channelized in an environmentally friendly manner. EPR also goes beyond compliance. It's not just about volume collections. A very important part is social inclusion, because rack pickers are at the center or the essential core of EPR. So there's a very high societal aspect to EPR. And to end my answer, EPR also enhances circular economy, because you're creating a resource out of waste. You're still keeping things in circulation. So that's very important.
Absolutely, Jude. You broke it down in a very easy to digestible forms for us, for how plastic was actually a boon initially, but mismanagement led it to becoming a waste.
Right.
And to actually turn this waste into wealth again, EPR plays a very important role.
Yes.
But for a circular economy, packaging that cannot be eliminated or reused must be collected, sorted, and recycled or composted after use.
Yes.
But currently, the economics do not really stack up, because collection, sorting, recycling, or processing the packaging costs more than the revenues made from selling the recycled materials.
Yes.
So, what and how, according to you, would EPR look like in the coming years?
So that's also a very good question. So, as I just mentioned, plastic has been a boon, but plastics are ubiquitous. They are everywhere. They are in every part of life, every phase of life. We use it for everything, right from saving someone's life to bringing someone to life. It's part of our daily life. Even the technology, even the laptop that I'm using to talk to you is made mostly of plastic. So it's everywhere. So it has to be disposed and managed in a better way. EPR plays an integral part in circular economy, because it is enabling the recycling and keeping the plastics in circulation by recycling. It is not letting it lead to a landfill where it's just going to lie like that. It's making use of a so-called waste, but in our case, it's of value. This is also where in circular economy you design for recyclability. You design the products or the product packaging in such a way that you incorporate the recycled plastics into that plastic packaging or plastic product. And also technology comes into this. How? By enhancing the processes and creating a demand for the PCR, that's your post-consumer recycled plastic. Because you are then creating a demand for it, where then you kind of use that same plastic that was once upon a time waste back into the system, back into your product. So it's a nice good circle that has been formed, and it really drives circular economy. Keeping circular economy is very important, because the main idea is you're not creating something new, but you're using something that's already in circulation. And in this way, you're creating less waste. There's less going to the landfills. There's more demand and supply for PCR pellets, PCR granules, from companies. It's like, so recently I have been dealing with a lot of companies, and a lot of them have been asking, so what happens to our plastic? How can we incorporate more plastic content into it? So EPA related policy is also getting stricter. Let me just tell you that also. So, they companies are who held, sorry, brand owners are held more responsible for their end of life stage of their packaging or products or whatever. And this is well known among all the stakeholders. Now, even monitoring and enforcement of EPR policy was sort of, it was not implemented in a very strong manner, but I see that it's going to be really be pushed hard, and implementation monitoring is going to become more stricter as we go. Also, the future of EPR lies in EPR for textiles. We have EPR because there's a great amount of textiles that is just disposed of in manners that are really appalling. We have EPR for glass as well that is going to be coming up, and we'll have EPR for paper, because the paper industry is quite very big, very large, and paper is seen as an alternative to plastic. But then there's a huge generation of paper based as well. So I think these are going to be the future of EPR when you talk about EPR.
Right, Jude. Quite interesting because from your answer, we can gather that producers, EPR has really made producers more responsible towards
Yeah,
their waste rather than shifting, keeping the focus entirely on the consumers.
yeah,
When it comes to recycling, it has shifted to producers too, and
yeah.
rightly so, right?
Yes. Also, Kavya, I'd like to add, there is a very important guideline. Okay, it's in the principles, in the framework of EPR, and I'll just read it out to you. It's fantastic. It's something that me and my team really connect very well, and we agree so well. We talk about it sometimes; it makes so much sense. So it goes by the guiding principles in the proposed EPR framework aim to achieve increased collection and recycling rates while creating a roadmap for cost efficiency, value chain optimization, and a transparent and a well functioning waste management ecosystem. If implemented well, EPR can be a strong guiding path toward transitioning to a circular economy. This is so fantastically put together. I mean, everything that I'm talking right now, this has got it all in it. So, really, it's EPR is the way to go for us.
Absolutely, Jude. But you spoke about how important it is to transition to a circular economy.
Yes,
But in a country like India, where segregation and sorting still remain a challenge,
right.
what challenges do you think are faced by the recycling industry?
Oh, that's a nice question. So we do have, yes, as everything has, every industry will have its sets of sort of challenges. So I'll give you a few that the recycling industry faces. One is consistency of material after segregation. Okay, what that means is there is some plastics that can be recycled, and there are some plastics that are degraded beyond the point where they cannot be put back into the system. They've been degraded, exhaustively, and incorporating it into the recycling process might actually damage the batches of recycled plastic, in the process. We do also, number two is we do have a few trained staff and rag pickers. So essentially, I mean, we still do, in India, there is still manual segregation done at some level. And what happens is during that manual segregation, the waste is segregated by feel, by touch, by color. It's not segregated as per the categories. So you would have your 7 categories: your HDPE, LDPE, all the etc. etc. And the seventh category would be your multi-layered plastics. So that is one thing. Coming to my next point. So that leads into my next point is grading of materials is not done according to categories. So you have 7 categories. So each it would be further segregated and into 7 categories. So you would have your all the plastic stash would then get segregated to HDPE, LDPE. It needs to be in that same polymer, because if you blend it, you mix it, it can lead to issues in the recycling. And it's always better to have one set of the polymers as per category. Then we require better technology, or there's lack of technology, because when it comes to mixed waste, the amount of waste that is generated on a daily basis is tremendous. I mean, if I go into stats of that, I'll never finish. So if we need better technology to deal with that great amount of mixed waste, like segregation has to be handled with some amount of technology. It's 2021. We should be able to deal with it in a in the manner that we can best at our ability right now. And lastly, I'd like to end with the maintaining the quality of the end product. So after recycling, the final PCR pellets and the final PCR granules after recycling needs to be of a certain quality. If that quality is compromised by extra moisture, or there is some properties that are missing, the batch is kind of useless. It can be salvaged, but it's always better to have consistent recycled product, because that can be further taken into industries and used, because each industry has different specifications for or properties that they would like from their PCR pellets. So yeah, those are my 5 points that challenges we face at the recycling industry.
Quite interesting, Jude. Um, Actually, while the solutions can come from technology, another important player here is the government to bring
Yes,
about a solution.
right.
So, today PIBOs need to be constructive in their engagement with governments and other stakeholders, advocating for establishment of well-designed EPR policies and
Yes,
being supportive in working out the implementation and continuously, to improve EPR schemes in the local context.
right.
So, my question to you is what policy recommendations do you suggest are needed to make this market more lucrative?
Right. So there are like a few policies that, on top of my head, definitely need to be worked upon. We know that the waste management sector is really growing with a great amount of waste, produced. We have cities that are generating great amounts of waste, but not that much in comparison to, say, a village. So taking that, the policies that I would definitely changes I would really like to be incorporated are, with the increased number of waste management agencies in the waste management space, I would definitely want to see a standardization of documentation and auditing systems. What that means is that everyone, all the waste management agencies, all the recyclers, all the PIBOs, everybody in the waste management sector is on the same platform. They know how things go about. They know the right documents that they are required. They know what auditing happens, how does it happen, so everything is very clear to everybody. Also, the municipal bodies should be clear and have a proper know-how of EPR, because there's a lot of discrepancies, not discrepancies, but it WMAs such as Shakti Plastics will be able to work efficiently and work smoother without discrepancies with the ULBs or the municipal bodies, in such a way, if they are well, they know their role, they know our role, they know where we meet them, where we come, where does EPR lie, how do we work better together in collaboration. Also, the fourth point would be, definitely we need more support from the government and governing bodies, regulatory bodies, in terms of know-how. What I mean by that is, now, as I said, there are a lot of waste management agencies coming into the waste management space. So they require guidance. They require a little bit of direction as to, okay, this is the path you need to take. This is what you need. This is what you require. This is how you go. So there's no confusion. Everything works smooth. Everything works in a timely fashion. And as I said, then documentation is easier. Then you have auditing systems that are in place. Everything falls right back down to what you require. Yeah. So those are a few of the policy recommendations that I would have for you.
Interesting, Jude. Um, all right, so I think we do have some questions from the audience for you, Jude.
Okay.
So, shall we take a look?
Yeah, sure.
Um, to give me a moment.
Kavya, if you don't mind, I'd like to take this time to also thank Mr. Rahul Podar. He's our MD at Shakti Plastics. He's given us this opportunity to collaborate with ICCE. It's these sort of platforms that we require to sort of engage with customers, with PIBOs, with the government, and grow awareness, because there are a lot of public awareness that is required. And I have personally had so many people come up to me with so much of interest in EPR, so much of interest in plastic recycling. I think what your guys are doing is fantastic. I'd also like to take this time to thank my fellow speakers. They are an amazing team. Mr. Tony Thomas, Supriya Mantri, Sahil Ghai, Ritika Gadoya, and Abhijit Singh. They did a fantastic job. I mean, you've interviewed them and talked to them. So I'd like to thank that. Also, I have a very important announcement to make. It's exciting news for us at Shakti Plastics. We are now the founding members of the Indian Plastic Pact. So I would recommend all of you all watching here, please go on to the Plastic Pact, indianplasticpact.org, and just have a look. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be coming up, a lot of exciting things. The Indian Plastic Pact is a fantastic initiative. It's been taken up by the WWF and CI as fantastic. So I really would recommend you guys log on to that. There's some really exciting initiatives coming up there.
Quite fascinating, Jude. Can you please spell it out, plastic, for the
Indian
audience?
Indian Plastics Pact, PLASTICS Pact, PACT.org. Indian Plastics Pact.org.
All right, Jude. I do hope the audience have a look at it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. That'll be amazing.
yes, it definitely would. So, Jude, Tony is asking what are the fines or penalties that any PIBO has to face for not compliance or for not undertaking EPR at all?
Oh, so that's a question we get a lot, because a lot of the PIBOs are they want to comply, but some are hesitant, some don't know the entire. It's not like completely transparent to them what happens or to the repercussions and all. So the fines would actually depend mostly on their so the first part of EPR is you need to register on the CPCB site. That is, if you are supplying, if your product sales are in more than 2 states. So you would ideally register yourself on the CPCB site, and they would be aware that you have an EPR compliance. And if you're not compliant, they will know that also, because that's the first step, is your registration. Once that is done, then they sort of then there's a sort of back and forth of data through us, like a waste management agency, where we would know how much of plastic of theirs is going out into the market. And according to that, the CPCB will kind of go through their case and see how much they're generating, what they're doing about it, how are they complying or they're not. And according to that, the way the penalties depend on that. Basically, it's not standardized as such. There were a few brand owners that were penalized early March this year, but that's a wake up call for a lot of the brand owners, that we need to comply. But do it not just for compliance, but also have some that we're doing something for the environment by keeping out the plastics from the environment. So I think that's a very important aspect that I really hope brand owners and all the stakeholders get aware of.
Absolutely, Jude. I hope that would have answered Tony's question. Next, we have Fiona who says, I would want to understand the rules to contain provision for EPR. I think we have included the provisions in our chat. However, Jude, would you like to add anything here?
See, the EPR is basically, it will come down to how much of plastic are you generating, and how much of it is going into the market, and how many states are you supplying to. So the EPR policy is goes for the entire of India. So if you're generating in say one or two states, it is, you have to register the state pollution control board. And if it is in you're supplying to more than it's going out into the market in more than two states, you would definitely need to register with the CPCB online portal. So I think that's your first step when it comes to there. After that, you kind of need to figure out how do you want to start your API compliance. Do you want to do it by yourself, which would need a lot of know-how, a lot of investment, or would you like to have direct interaction with ULBs? Or you can go for the third one, is a brand owner, importer, or producer can approach people like us that are waste management agencies, and we can assist them in complying. We draw them out, we assist them, like we give them assistance right from documentation to their collection, disposal, recycling. We give them, finally, we give them a report of how much has been recycled on their behalf, etc. So it's a very it's not a tedious, but it's a very wonderfully planned uh, compliance program by the CPCB and the regulatory bodies. Yes.
I hope that answers your question, Fiona. Next, we have Sudalai, who says that we are ready to process the waste plastic, but there is difficulty to obtain the waste from government and from producers who are responsible. Would you like to
Right.
comment on this?
Yeah, so your EPR compliance has to be basically through the ULBs. So you have to be endorsed by your ULBs. So wherever you are collecting your waste, it has to be through the ULBs. You do not see, EPR is also brand agnostic. You do not need to collect only that specific brands, uh, plastic products or plastic packaging. It has to be of the same quantum, same weight. So with that is the same that is collected through your urban local bodies or your ULBs. So it starts with the ULB, and then you need to have your in our case recycling facility, or by the regulatory norms, you have to go through the sustainably disposed through waste to energy, or to the cement pits. Those are the three options. Or you can even use it for your road making. Yes.
Okay, just one final thing. Gunjan J is asking if you would like to financially reward any idea.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I'm not in a position to really financially reward, but I think there should be incentives definitely for PIBOs, that is your producers, importers, and brand owners, for complying, because I mean that's the first step. That is a very important step that they're taking. It shows a lot of uh, focus on sustainability, and they really are looking at the bigger picture of it, the environment, and taking care of it. That's the best way you can reach out, your customers, your your normal people, by EPR, because that's the best way you can sort of reduce your burden on the environment. You're less likely to create pollution, plastic pollution, in that manner.
Well, Jude, thank you so much
Uh,
for being here with us today.
Kavya,
Would you
so
like
so
to
if
add
you don't,
something?
yes, yes. So I have a couple of takeaways for all the participants. Thank you, by the way, for joining, all of your guys, whoever's watching out there, friends, family, PIBOs, I don't know. But there are a couple of takeaways. I hope you all enjoyed the session. One is EPR is a really good policy because it helps diverge large amounts of plastic waste from landfills. Okay, so ideally, what would go into a landfill is being then recycled or sustainably disposed of. A lot less energy is used in recycling than making virgin product and plastic. Okay, when you're recycling than making virgin product. PIBOs, because of EPR, are now rethinking design of their product packaging. They are now trying to see the recyclability of their product packaging, which was probably not the case before. But now they are actually investing a lot of time and effort into doing that. EPR also improves collection and recycling of plastic packaging waste. I mean, otherwise, if you just remove EPR from the current system, you'd still have a lot of waste going into landfill. It also provides a lot of jobs. Okay, so you have a lot of RAP because who are employed. Their basic livelihoods are dependent on EPR, and I think RAC because at the core of EPR, we really need to focus more on the ground level and give back to them. Also, it helps strengthens EPR helps strengthens interactions between all stakeholders. So plastic waste is not a one person issue. It involves all of us. So it involves all stakeholders, right from waste management agencies that we are to the brand owners, producers, importers. Then you have your and then the government, that is your CPCB, SPCB. It also formalizes the recycling practices that are there. Okay, because otherwise the recycling processes happened in a very haphazard manner. It boosts recycling rates, and as we already have spoken about, EPR helps shift that and transition into circular economy. And circular economy goes beyond just recycling. The goal is not just to design for better end of life recovery, but to minimize the use also of raw materials and of energy through a restorative system. It reduces the dependency on virgin material, okay, recycling, and waste entering into the landfill is greatly reduced and lowers the cost of environmental remediation. So these are some of the takeaways. I really hope all of you all have, you can take away from this. If anyone would like to read up more on EPR, I genuinely would suggest two papers that you can find on the online. One is the Uniform Framework on EPR under the EPR Plastic Pack Management Rule 2016, MOEF by the MOEF June 2020. And the second one is Swachh Bharat Plastic Waste Book, Plastic Waste Management Issues, Solutions and Case Studies. This gives you like a very in-depth look at the plastics. This you'll find at www.mahua.gov.in, March 2019. So I would really recommend you all participants go and check those two sites out and papers out. It will be amazing.
Thank you, Jude. We touched on so much in EPR. The economic aspect, the environmental aspect, and most importantly, the social aspects of EPR,
Yes.
which
Right.
are very important in a country like India.
Right.
So, thank you so much, Jude. I'm sure our audience would have enjoyed this discussion. They would have some very important takeaways from this. So, thank you for being here with us today. And I would also like to thank everyone who decided to join our live session today. We will be back on the same time on the 22nd of September. And if you do not want to miss out on any updates or future conversations, do follow our social media pages and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, thank you so much and see you next week at the Circular Chat.
Thank you, Kavya. Bye bye.
Thank you, Jude.